Azor, host of Right This Way, and today we're going to talk about women's rights. So I have talked about this several times, said, I'm not a feminist. I'm never going to be a modern day feminist. I just don't believe what they believe. I absolutely believe that men and women are equal, but different biologically, psychologically. I won't go into too much detail. You can check out my Why I'm Not a Feminist episode. There's a lot that I've been seeing going down on social media and things like that. I've actually talked to some of my friends about it. But the killing of Sarah Everard, she was just recently killed walking home from work. Supposedly, she was killed by a police officer who was a current active duty police officer in England. And so what people have been talking about is saying this is an example of the toxic patriarchy, and this is a problem of men. Any murderer, right? The problem is the murderer, not the person, okay? Understood? Yes, absolutely. No question about that. But I see so many young women who would someday like to be married to a man and are posting this stuff on their story that men are the problem, we need to educate men. And all of this like super feminist stuff and this feminist rhetoric is, I think, so anti-men that I don't think it's helpful to young women, and I don't think it's helpful to young men. So that's why I want to talk about it today, because I think I'm pretty vocal about being very anti-modern day feminism. I just think it's stupid. And what I've seen on social media and all of these different platforms about men and we need to educate men better, I think that this solution to our outrage over this woman's death is stupid. I think it's just so dumb. It's not going to do anything. The solution, the big like catchphrase we're using is educate men. And people are saying, well, like, you should educate all children, right? Yeah, obviously. Like, that's so stupid. And we look at statistics and interpret them wrongly very often because women are statistically more likely to be victims of violent crime. But on social media, the reasoning for women being victims to violent crime is the patriarchy. According to feminists who are very loud on social media, the reason for this is because of toxic masculinity and men who hold traditional values. That's the reason. And men who weren't told as a child that it wasn't okay to treat women this way. Let me ask you this for a second. Have you ever thought that you needed to specifically tell somebody that it's not okay to murder someone? Honestly, because that's what we're saying here is teach men better. Oh yeah, we should have taught this police officer, we should have taught him it's not okay to kill women. No, there's obviously something very wrong with this man, just like anybody else who murders people. There's something wrong with him. There's something wrong psychologically that makes him think it's okay to take the life of another human being, whether it be a man or a woman. It has nothing to do with him being a man and her being a woman. But women are just easier targets for things like this because, again, I know that the feminists are going to come for me, but women are not as strong as men. Men who have half as much muscle as I do are probably still twice as strong as me almost every time. That's just how it is. Men are stronger than women. They're usually bigger than women. They usually weigh a little bit more than women and just are better at throwing their body weight around. A man and a woman of the same size, you're going to have a better chance, but men are just typically bigger. That's, again, it's just a fact. Don't get angry with me, but that's the way that it is. And that is the reasoning, right? It's not some stupid patriarchal thing and this man just hates women. It could be in this specific case that we've decided to get angry about because there's plenty of women killed every single year by men. And this one is no different, but this is the one that we're really outraged about. In England, you have to be like a special kind of police officer to even be allowed to carry a taser. So most police officers don't even carry guns. Regular citizens are not allowed to carry guns. They're not allowed to protect themselves, right? I think it's so silly that we're so outraged and we need to teach men to be better. We need to teach them that it's not okay to kill women instead of saying, hey, this is enough. Enough is enough. We need an equalizer. We need women to be able to protect themselves. And I'm not going to turn this into a gun control thing, but I want to touch on it because I think that's an important aspect of, if we're going to get outraged about this, let's look for an actual solution. Because the solution of let's teach men to be better is really stupid. Sorry, it's just really dumb. You come up with something a little bit better. Women need a means of protection. That's what guns are for. They're an equalizer in the sense that most women are not going to be able to physically overpower a man. A weapon is pretty important. Even knives in England are not legal to carry, like a pocket knife or things like that. The blade has to be within like a certain really small size, and it's just not something that you could use to protect yourself. So they have very strict laws regarding weapons. Obviously, he's a police officer, right? He knows all of the laws. He knows all of the details. He knows locations, and he knows where he is going to be able to abduct this woman, that no one's going to see him. There's going to be no actual proof. And again, he's a police officer, so he probably knows how to dispose of evidence pretty well. I'm surprised he's caught, honestly, but he's just arrested, I believe, awaiting trial. So we'll see. They were looking for more evidence because all they found was her body, but it was like by a river or something. So yeah, it sounds like he did dispose of a lot of evidence pretty efficiently, which again is kind of what you would expect. So I just think it's silly that we've gotten so upset over one case, because we can apply it to the narrative that we want to, right? That's the thing here, is this can apply to the narrative of police are bad, men are bad, instead of talking about a solution that's actually a solution, right? Again, because it's literally the dumbest thing ever to be like, well, you can't actually kill women. I think they know that. I think we cover that, even if it's not like an explicit, like, in fourth grade, we have the lesson of don't kill women, boys. I think overall that through just general day-to-day life, the message gets across that it's really not okay to murder people. So instead of focusing on stupid solutions and posting them all over social media and pretending that they're going to do something, why don't we actually find a solution that's helpful? Why don't we talk about how women can have some sort of an equalizer, whether that be guns or not? Like I said, I'm not trying to turn this into a gun control debate, because I think it's kind of messed up that we always turn like people's deaths into big political debates. So I'm not trying to do that here. Let's not even talk about guns for the moment then. And we'll say, what about other weapons? What about self-defense? What about things like that? We have to teach men to be better. I just don't think men are the problem. And that's kind of where I think the feminists really want to get you. And I remember, like, when I was in middle school, I was a little raging feminist. And I remember I had my one gym teacher. He was one of the only male teachers we had at the school in middle school. It was really small. And he would always ask for, like, boys to come and help this teacher carry a huge box of books up or down the stairs and things like that, or like into her car, out of her car, something like that. He would always come looking for boys. And me and my one best friend, who was also a little raging feminist with me, we were like, why can't we do it? Like, we wanted to go carry the books. I don't know why we wanted to do that, but being the normal person that he is and not actually an annoying sexist that we thought he was like, all right, go ahead. He was trying to be polite and not make us do work and teach those young men that this is the kind of thing you do. You hold the door for women and you carry heavy things for them, because that's the kind of kindness that we should treat women with. And I think it's so silly that my little feminist brain was saying that's wrong. Why would you want him to help you? That's so silly. Looking back on it, I think exactly the opposite. It's so silly. He was teaching them really good values, actually. And that doesn't mean women can't carry books, okay, right? Like, that's so stupid to think that that's what I would be saying, right? And we go so far on the opposite end of the spectrum when we say things like that. We're like, well, why would men carry books for women? Women can carry them. Of course they can. But part of teaching young men, right, because here's what we're saying is teach young men. We are teaching them these actual conservative Christian values of what the Bible says men should be to women and women should be to men. And that is under attack in social media and in our culture today as well. So it's kind of hard to say we should teach men to have good values, but these good values that are actually good values, those are bad values. We can't say you need to teach men to be better men, but masculinity is toxic. You cannot put those in the same sentence. And that's why it's just so hypocritical that we see feminists on Instagram. If you know what that is, that's the one that like really got me. But in one post, they have toxic masculinity explaining it, what it is, what mansplaining is, and all these silly things. And then the very next post, we need to teach men to be better men. How does that work, right? Because if you want to teach men to be feminine, that's a different story, but it isn't what they're saying. That's not the message. But I think it's really ironic that this has happened in a place where a woman cannot protect herself, in a place where a woman cannot have weapons and things that are going to give her that leg up that she needs to survive. And I just don't understand why nobody's talking about that, I guess. I think it's really silly that we're using this to push a feminist agenda when we could have a real solution to this. We could start teaching women. I mean, in public schools, they have all these programs. We could start implementing a little bit more self-defense. And again, maybe that won't save your life, but it could. And that's kind of a government problem there, where we've like banned all weapons that might be able to help you in the name of peace, in the name of safety, public safety. But I think as young people in general, men and women, we are starting to see a disconnect and the feminism like weeding its way in. And we've got so many girls now with like short hair, and we told them it's okay to be super overweight. It's not only okay aesthetically, but it's actually healthy, is what we're starting to tell people now. I just think it's crazy how far we've gone, and I think that a little bit of truth and a little bit of honesty from the media and from each other would go a really long ways. If you've enjoyed this episode, you can give me a thumbs up on YouTube, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and you can also check out my Instagram at right.this.way.